you can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Gary Anderson.
And that is me. Boy, the thunder earth change is going on. Ooh, I got a sweater on. I'm all set with my space heater right next to my chair tonight. Anyway, tonight, our guest after the news is George Workman. He is, well, a professional IT person, amateur Bigfoot researcher and investigator from Western Pennsylvania. Well, we're going to be talking about his skills and what he has done here shortly after the top of the hour. Now, myself, well, I took a break at one point out of radio. Some of my people that know me know that I've been in radio off and on since 1976. That's a long time to be talking. Boy, did my parents, give me the gift to gab. But I have it sometimes anyway. So what happened back in the early 2000s, a friend of mine, we used to go out and take pictures together of lighthouses and old ghost towns and old creepy cemeteries and things like that. At that point, I was out of radio. I took a 10-year break from radio, and I was managing a chain of professional camera stores. That's how I met my friend. And one day, he goes, well, you know what? I am opening up my medical practice up in Puyallup, Washington. And I go, gee, you're all done with your internship? And he goes, yes, I'm all done with that. And I'm opening up my practice here in a month. Do you want to go on a road trip? And I go, well, I'm tired of really, going down on the coast and taking pictures of lighthouses. No. Why don't we go up to Canada? So we decided we're going to go, to the Canadian Rockies. And we researched it. There's a lot of old ghost towns if you go up in the Canadian Rockies. A lot of silver mines. That's where a lot of silver was worked. Up was in the Canadian Rockies. A lot of miners, Chinese, immigrants, lost their lives on these silver mines. They're kind of unique because you would go be driving, for example, and you look at the side of a mountain, and halfway up this mountain, like 200 feet up, there was a mine. And you wonder, how did they even get in it? How did they climb up that 200 feet? Well, evidently, a lot of them succumbed to either mine collapses or maybe even going up to their mines, because the cemeteries, the old ones, there are a lot of Chinese markers, cemetery markers. It really shocking. One of the places we went to was a couple old cemeteries. We checked those out. It was kind of fun. Got a lot of good pictures. Kind of eerie because a lot of these cemeteries we went to, people probably haven't been there for years. They were overgrown completely. I mean, big trees coming out of where, somebody was buried. Weeds and grass up to your waist. I mean, nobody's been around in a lot of these places. We decided we're going to go up and find the Japanese World War II internment camp that the Canadian military imprisoned the prisoners that they had from World War II. They were brought and put up in the Canadian Rockies, miles away from any, town, city, or any place, they could, run away from the water, so that, they couldn't even, whatever. The odds are escaping would have been really hard for them to get away. So we had to hike in. And again, even hiking in, we ran across the old cemetery for the internment camp. And really, that was eerie. Lots of graves, lots and lots of them. So a lot of the prisoners look like they succumbed to, maybe, who knows, the elements up there. Because I'll tell you what, the Canadian Rockies, we went there the first part of June, and it was still snow on the side of the roads. It was cold. You could see your breath. So it was chilly. Could you imagine in dead of winter up there? I tell you what, it'd be freezing. So these prisoners were held in an internment camp that was on a base of a mountain, which also had a silver mine in it. We hike into it. Now, this hike was kind of interesting because, again, you're hiking in the forest 2 miles. Now, we didn't see anything strange. Or did we? We got into where the internment camp was. There was a couple buildings, what was left of them, and very, about ready, whatever was there, was about ready to collapse. There was some mining equipment. There was some parts of fences left. There was, you could definitely see it was at one time an internment camp. What we noticed, or my friend notices, there was a creek running across, and here's the base of the mountain. And my friend says, "Hey, Gary, look at that huge bear across the creek." And I look, and I take my camera, which has a telephoto lens on it, to get a better view of this big bear. And lo and behold, at least to myself, it wasn't a bear. The face of it didn't resemble a bear. It kind of was humanoid. I can tell you that much. The thing was hairy, like you wouldn't believe. And no, it wasn't wearing any clothes, James. It was naked and afraid. No.
Oh boy. And
about the same time, I'm sitting here with my camera lens. I'm looking at it. It turns and catches maybe the glare off the lens, but it sees me. And at that point, I'm kind of like in pardon the expression, a brain fart. I kind of like, when you see something horrible, you see something like a UFO, or you see something like a Mothman, your brain shuts down for a second because it's trying to digest what you're seeing. And about at that time, the thing screamed. And being next to the base of that mountain where the silver mine was, there was an echo. It was loud. I never was so scared in my life. I yell at my friend and I said, "Hey, Jim, that isn't no blankety blank bear." And as soon as I said that, the thing came towards us, running. Now, I'm going to tell you something, and I don't care if you believe it or not, people. What I saw is when it ran, of course, I ran as fast as I could, too, at about the same time. I noticed it didn't just run on 2 legs. It ran between 2 legs and 4 legs. We took off running. I think I even left my camera bag there with some lenses. I didn't care. I never even went back to get it afterwards. So who knows? Maybe somebody found it or it's still sitting there. I have no idea. But when we were running, I did turn around once or twice. And I noticed it was running on, again, between 2 and 4 legs. And while it was running, it was making the loudest screams you could ever imagine. Now, we had to run back through the woods, approximately 2 miles where the car was. Now, the car was not parked on a side of the road. When we got to the internment camp, where we thought it was at, there was like an old access road that had ruts in it. It had mud puddles in it. And we drove in there as far as we could. And we were probably about a quarter mile off the main so-called road up there in the Canadian Rockies, which was a 2-lane road out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, when we were driving there, we'd see a vehicle maybe like every 20 or 30 minutes. That's how sparse it was with traffic at that time of the year. Now, we get to the car, or I get to the car first. As I'm opening the driver's side of the car, I see what looks like, I don't know how to describe it, a monster. Nothing more than that. The scariest thing you could ever imagine. about 25 feet away from me, right off the tree line, bending a tree over, which is maybe 4 or 5 inches around. Now, I don't know if it's a pine or fir because I'm not that good. I know what a cedar tree looks like. I can tell you that, but I don't. Hey, it was either a pine or a fir tree. And it bent this tree. It was maybe 20, 25 feet tall over like nothing. And it's screaming. I'm getting in the car. My friend is not even to the car quite yet. I already had it started. And I'll tell you another thing. It stunk so bad that you have to understand it was chilly out yet. And between it being cold and the smell and stench, it literally, I could hardly breathe. It was burning my lungs. That's how pungent the smell was. I never in my life smelled anything like that or since smelled anything like that. But all I remember is I wanted to throw up. Every breath I took, even through my mouth, it burnt my throat. Now that is how pungent it was. I stick the car in drive. My friend, as this got to the passenger side of the car door, he's opened it. I'm dragging him now. And because I'm scared. And then my brain kicked in. Hey, I'm going to run over my friend. So I slammed the brakes on. And he's getting in. And as he's getting in, whatever this monster is, whatever this thing was, maybe a guy that dressed in a costume, it was about 8 feet tall or 7 feet tall, threw a huge rock. This rock hits my wife's car. Because it was my wife's car. She was nice enough to let me take her car. She just bought a couple weeks prior. And it was her very first car she ever bought. And we've been married going on 43, 44 years. But that back then, it was like the very first new car she ever bought in her life. And I mean, she cherished it. She was nice enough to let me take it. Well, it throws out this rock, not a small rock, but a big enough rock where it takes out part of the fender closest to the door, caves it in, and takes part of the door by the seam of the door, when the door opens up by the fender, takes that out. Now, we drive maybe 15 miles down the road, maybe 20 miles, I can't remember. We come up to a little store, and we are so shook up. I'll tell you how shook up I was. I was in the military. I never peed my pants since kindergarten. I prided myself. While other kids in kindergarten, first grade, peed their pants, I never did. Well, that day, I peed my pants. That's how scared I was. I was scared for my life, like I never was. Now, we go into this little store. The guy starts talking to us, and he goes, "You guys, is something happen? You guys are really shook up. Is there something I can do? Did something happen?" And I said, "Yeah, we saw a Bigfoot." Now, as soon as I said that, I waited for the guy to start laughing. But he didn't laugh. The first thing out of his mouth was, up here, a week before that, a man and his wife went out hiking pretty close to where you were at. That's maybe a couple miles away from where you were at. The wife, I guess,